You can slice them, you can dice them, you can cut them, you can mash them, you can eat them whole, you can even deep fry them. We're planting some potatoes. That and a whole lot more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden.
This program was funded by the following.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
Willow Springs Soap Company is a locally owned Colorado business just a stone's throw away from the Rocky Mountains. Their handmade soap is made from simple, recognizable ingredients, which lead to a more natural, earth-friendly, long-lasting, and hard bar with a wonderful creamy lather. They make soap using the cold kettle process with a specially formulated recipe of 100% vegetable oils. They use traditional methods that produce a true soap instead of the commercial synthetic alternatives that can dry out skin. Go to www.willowspringssoap.com to get a fresh and natural clean, handmade in the Rockies.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener supports the following. Hunger Task Force believes that every person has the right to adequate food obtained with dignity. They're providing food for people in need. With their 151-acre working farm and fish hatchery in Franklin, Wisconsin, volunteers are needed daily. You could plant seeds in the greenhouse, ride the transplanter, or you can make an instant $10 donation from your mobile device by texting food to 52,000. For more information on how you can help end hunger, visit hungertaskforce.org.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. This show is dedicated to the average gardener, simple in living, and using what you already have. We're going to plant some potatoes today, and there's many different ways you can plant potatoes, and there's many different varieties that you can plant. We're going to go with the traditional trench method of planting potatoes. We've got some Yukon Golds, some red potatoes, and some purple organic potatoes that we saved from last year. Now, it's pretty simple to grow potatoes pretty much anywhere where you live. Main thing you want to consider is you can plant them about 2 weeks prior to your last frost date. And to find your frost date, you can just simply go to your favorite search engine and type in frost date with your zip code on it. So what we're doing here, I'm taking and digging a trench, and we're going to take the potatoes and nestle them down in there. Now, this area here has already been double dug once, which makes the soil extremely loose and loomy. And that's what potatoes like. They also like full sun and a soil that's a little on the acidic side if possible, but they will grow very, very well in just totally neutral pH level 7 soil. Now I got the trench dug. Even though I've double dug it the area once, I'll take my garden fork and I'll get in there and I'll loosen it up even more again, because I want the soil just to be as loomy, as loose as it possibly can be, so I can get the best yield of potatoes. So I'll get that flipped here. Now, potatoes prefer cooler weather over warmer weather. So if you can get your potatoes planted early, that is the best thing for them. Potatoes will basically die if you get the soil, if the soil temperature gets 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. They'll just shut off and they'll die because they can't handle that heat. Preferably colder. If it's below freezing, they won't, and they got tops above them. I've read that they will die, the tops will die back, but they'll regrow that top portion. But if you can avoid that at all, just wait till 2 weeks before your last frost date. Now that we've got all this loosened up, it's going to be ready to plant some potatoes. Like I said, we've got 3 different varieties of potatoes that we're planting. And we've done some ways of prepping the potatoes. Typically, you'll get a potato that has multiple eyes on it. These are seed potatoes. and you'll have eyes on them. Now this one has, we got one big eye on that potato. So we're just going to plant the potato directly in the ground. But with potatoes that have multiple eyes on them, you can cut them in half, or you can cut them to where there's 1 to 2 or 3 eyes per section of potato. Now we've done these about 3 days ago to allow them to heal up. Now I planted potatoes where you just cut them, throw them in the ground, and they grew fine. It's recommended to do this to get a seal on it, like a scab, on your potato to prevent bugs and insects to get in there and eat that potato away. So it's a hard tissue there, so they can't just burrow in there and eat that potato after you just planted it. So let's get these over and I'll start planting some potatoes in the garden. So we got our potatoes. We're going to do 3 rows here. We're going to do the Yukon Golds, we're going to do the reds, and we're going to do the purples over there. Then we're going to plant some on the other end of the garden, the high end of the garden. So it's very easy to plant these potatoes. We'll take the cut side and put it down and let the eyes grow in the upwards position. Now, to get the most yield out of your potatoes, you want to space them as far apart as you can. It's recommended I'd go about every foot. The closer you put them, the less yield you're going to have because they're going to have less room to grow with each other side by side. And I just nestle them down in there with that cut side down about every foot, and then we'll cover them up with the soil we have on the sides here. And these are really good potatoes to just pretty much do anything with. Like now here's a whole potato that we haven't cut, so we're just going to nestle it in the ground with the eyes facing upwards. Now I know we're not going to get the whole bag here in this trench here, and that's fine. We've got other places where we can plant them. There's another big one that just has the one set of eyes on it, so we're just going to set it there. And like I said, if you want to double dig again, because you can see at being double dug, I can get down another, I can go down another 8 inches before I really hit solid soil. And that'll really allow them potatoes to penetrate and get the maximum growing capabilities out of them. Alright, now we got the Yukons. I'm going to get in here and plant some of these red potatoes. It's going to be a little more of a challenge. So here's a trick if this is where you're at. Now in most cases you would plant these, cover them up, open the soil up, plant these, close them up, and then do the same over there. But since I've got all 3 opened up, I don't want to compact the soil a whole lot. So I will plant one potato there, another foot there. And as I'm stepping where I'm stepping at, I'm going to loosen up before I plant my potatoes. Okay, I've stood right there. I'm going to take my fork, loosen that up to get rid of that compaction that I just did. And if you don't have a garden fork, it's one of the most beneficial items you can have besides a shovel in your garden. We picked this one up for $5 at a yard sale. It's one of the best investments we've made. There's one that's a solid one there. Okay. And, okay, now we'll get to the purple ones. Now these purple ones that we say, these are organic from last year. They didn't do very well because we placed them in an area that didn't get a whole lot of sunlight. So we're just going to plant the whole potato. As you can see, all of these are very small. I'm not guaranteeing anything wonderful out of them, but I don't want to throw them away. So we're just going to plant them and see what kind of results we can get from them. That's got 3 eyes on that one. And with these being a little smaller, I'm going to place them a little tighter together, about 8 inches, rather than the 12 that we did the large potatoes with. Now, for instance, that potato there has no visible eyes on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in the ground anyway, and I'm going to take one that does have some growth on it and place it right beside, just to guarantee me I'll get something out of this particular area. And then with these potatoes, if you save organic potatoes, you're going to get a chance that you're going to have some small ones that are real tiny. So instead of doing that spacing 12, I'm going to take 4 of these and I'm just going to slap them all in the ground right So we got our 3 rows of potatoes planted here. Now you can, like I said, you could put radishes between each row to maximize your growing space. We're going to hold off on that, but that is an option for you to get more radishes in the ground. You know, we're going to go up in the high end of the garden and plant some more potatoes just to kind of give a variation of areas where we got potatoes planted. So let's head up there and get those planted. So we're going to plant some red potatoes in this little 5-foot spot here on the high end of the garden. As same procedure, we double dug, then we loosened the soil up with a fork in the trench. Now we're just going to plant some red potatoes there. And potatoes will take between 60 and 90 days, depending on the variety that you have. So it's not too long. I consider potatoes a cold weather plant. And we'll just cover these up here. And then as the potato grows, then we'll mound more dirt on top of it as we see the potato top pierce through the ground. Now there's many different ways you can plant potatoes, the trench method being one that works very successful for us here at the garden. You can grow them in a bag, you can grow them in a bucket, you can grow them in a trash can. Or you can do what like our friends are doing in Canada, Randy and Amanda at gettingtheirgreen.com. They're growing their potatoes in a box. To find out more information on how they're doing it in Canada, you can find their link on our webpage, and it's the same name as our show, theWisconsinVegetableGardener.com. If you've never planted leeks before, it's really easy to do. The edible portion of a leek is that white portion on the bottom of it. And there's a way to plant them so you can get the most bleached or white portion, edible portion of your leek. And the way you're going to plant them is, you don't do the traditional trench method like you would for onions, let's say. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to plant some leeks with our grid system here, and we're not going to plant every single hole. We're going to go every other hole and space them out. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to eliminate a lot of the center there. Now with leeks, it's not recommended to start them by seed in the garden. It's recommended to start them inside with transplants. Now if you don't have time or you have not started leeks in the house, it's not too late. You can go to your local nursery, and most nurseries will carry some variety of leeks to plant. And you can plant them just as soon as you possibly can, because believe it or not, leeks are the hardiest vegetable in your garden. They can withstand temperatures of up to as low as 5 degrees and still live. And that's why in warmer climates they'll come back year after year. If you planted them this year and they didn't produce very well, you can leave them in the ground until next spring, harvest them before they put their seed pod on. So we're just going to plant a few leeks here. Now the method is, I'm going to take a marker, plunge a hole in the ground, and then I'm going to take the leek out of my tray, and I'm going to knock a lot of the soil off of it just so I can get the actual leek itself. Okay, so we got that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that in the hole, and you can see the bleached portion and the roots there. I'm just going to drop it in the hole, give it a little push down. I'm going to take a little wad of potting soil, and this will vary depending on the size of your leek. I'm going to push that down, and I'm not going to fill the hole in. I'm going to let, whenever I water, it'll naturally fill in, and the bleach portion or the edible portion is what grows underground. You get a good portion of that then with this method of planting. So I'm going to plant another one here, the same procedure. Let's pull a nice one out here. Knock a lot of the soil off of it. We're going to drop it in the hole gently. Now as the leeks are bigger in the transplant, if you buy them for transplant, they're a lot easier to handle. I'm going to take a little soil and just dribble it around. And we'll just go progressively through and plant 6 or 12 leeks in this area. And you just want to keep them watered. They like loamy soil and a pH balance of about 6 to 6.8. But if you don't have the availability to change your pH level in your soil, whether with sulfur or lime, they will grow in neutral soil. And they take between 120 to 150 days, depending on the variety. And like I said, you can leave them in. They'll get 2 or 3 foot, 2.5 foot tall. If you don't get the height or the growth on them you want this year, You can leave them in the ground till early next spring. You can harvest them then as well. So planting leeks is an easy thing to do. If you've never done it, go ahead and experiment with it and try it this year in your garden. Soda bottles have so much versatile in the garden, but if you don't have a garden, they're still valuable to you. You can make a soda bottle planter, even if you live in an apartment or with a balcony or even a window. Come inside and I'll show you how easy it is to make a soda bottle planter. So it's really easy to make the soda bottle planter. You want to take a soda bottle and you want to cut off the bottom of the bottle like we have here. Now don't throw that away. You can use that to start seeds in. Now once you've got the bottom cut off of it, you want to figure out where your sides are going to be, and you're going to take a hole punch, and I'm going to punch a hole on each side here, and that's so, and you can do this however you want. I just use paper clips since we have a lot of them here, and I will wrap that there on that side, and then I'll put a paper clip on the other side here, and that'll be for our string. And now before you put the soil in it, you want to take a drill and you want to drill the bottom, a hole in the bottom, so that you have proper drainage. Now if you don't have a drill or you can't puncture that with whatever device you have, you can always take an X-Acto knife or a razor blade and cut a few slits around the base there just to let some water drainage out of it. So you want to take some old paper, whether it's typing paper or newspaper works best, or magazines, and you want to wrap it around the inside of it. And why am I doing this? This is to protect the roots from sunburn. Once the roots get established, you want to protect them from the sun. Now you want to take your soil and you want to fill it up, and then you want to tap it down to kind of settle it, because it's going to expand. You want your paper to go up against the wall there. And you can see here I've got it just about full. Out a little bit more soil, and then you can take your string, and however long you need your string to be, you can figure that out, whether you're hanging on your blind, your window shade there. Now this idea comes from our good friend Mike Lieberman. He's from California, and he lives in an apartment with a balcony 13 feet by 4, and he grows a ton of food on that balcony. And if you want more information on how he's doing it in California, you can find his link on our link, and that's our webpage, and it's the same name as our show, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. So just because you don't have any ground to grow in doesn't mean you can't grow your own vegetables. So we've got our milk crate planter that we're going to start planting some of our cool weather crops in. Now if you did not see how we constructed this, it's show 19. You can go back and look at that in our reusable segment. We filled it with potting soil. We've got it setting in the top of what a cake comes in from your big box store or your bakery. Now if you have another device you want to set in, that's fine. The reason why we sat it in the cake top tray was to contain the water if it's sitting on your porch or patio, and also to contain any soil that may flush out of it. Now we made this a couple of weeks ago and the soil dried out, so we wanted to moisten the soil back up. Now if you're going to moisten soil, potting soil that is, hot water. Now it may seem weird, but hot water, the soil will absorb a lot better than cool water. So you want to put the hot water in there, allow the soil to get all nice and moist, let it cool down, and then you can start planting your crops. Now what we're going to plant in here is a variety of different things in the side as well as in the top. So we're just going to start out with some bulb sets that we're just going to plant in the top here, just like we would in the garden. We're just going to shove them in there. We're going to do 4 of them. And when you're doing something of this small, I'm going to put them a little closer than probably what I should, but I want to try to compact as much into this crate as possible. Now we've got a head of romaine lettuce that we did purchase at our local home and garden center. So I'm going to place this here. Now I would try to put it in the side, but the base is just too big for it to fit in the holes of our crate. So we got that. So let's do a leek here. We'll take a leek then we'll plant it in the top. We're going to plant the leek the same way we did outside. Just puncture a hole with our finger, and we'll just set it in. And then we'll just, let's get it in there, okay. All right, let's go another leek. We'll go one more leek there just so we have 2 leeks. And obviously these are going to be much smaller in height than they would if you planted them in your garden. So we'll go another leek, how about right there. Good. Okay, so on the sides here, we have a couple of different options. We're going to plant, let's see here, we're going to plant a kale plant in the side with our little expandable pot here. So we're just going to take and cram that in there and make it fit. Okay, that's in there. And then as this, there we go, as that grows, it'll start filling out. We're going to take a couple of kohlrabi and I'm going to fill in a hole or 2 here. And you can be as creative as you want to be to see how much you can cram in here. And just as the same theory in the garden, the more stuff you cram in, the smaller it's going to grow because of the lack of space. Okay, we got that kohlrabi. Now we're going to plant some carrots here in the side. And then as the cool weather crops, as it gets warm enough to set this out for warm weather crops like tomatoes, we could do a small tomato plant in the top here, one of the container tomatoes. We could also do bush beans. We could throw some bush beans in the side of the crate, and that would work well too. So I'm just going to take these carrots and just pick a spot here, and always try to plant one side completely before you go randomly planting in other areas. So it's a creative way that we're going to see how effective this will be, and this is an experimental project like most things in the garden. So I'm eager to see how this is going to work out. So you can plant a lot of food in a small space by just using a milk crate, the proper type of milk crate, on your patio deck or porch. Most of us enjoy a ripe, juicy strawberry, but sometimes, whether by critters or neighbors' hands, you don't get an opportunity to taste them. Well, one of the ways you can deter those people and animals from getting in your patch is you could build a perimeter around it like we have here. Now our perimeter is simply fan grates that we've recycled the fan and then took the grates and cut in half, buried a portion of it, and placed it around the strawberry patch. And that will keep small critters such as rabbits and squirrels out of the patch and prevent them from getting a free meal. Now if you have problems with birds coming in and taking your strawberries, one of the ways you can go about that is, since we've got this perimeter built, we can take advantage of the sides there, and we can take chicken wire and run over top and keep the birds out of it. And in the center you could put a couple stakes to elevate the center, kind of like a tent or an archway type of situation there. Now if you have strawberries in containers on your porch, patio, or deck, and you're having the same issue, you can take a milk crate you have and cover the strawberries up, allowing a lot of sun to get in there and preventing small critters from eating your berries. Now if you don't have a milk crate, something you may have is a clothes basket. Now if you want to do the clothes basket method here, you want to be sure it's a clothes basket that you're not going to use ever again, because as you can see, you can't get no sun penetration to the top. So what you'd want to do is cut the top out with a sharp knife and then cover it with saran wrap to allow sun penetration to your berries. Just a couple of ways to guarantee you berries on your table rather than somebody else. Well, that's all the time we have. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. And planting potatoes, there's so many different varieties to plant. There's so many different ways you can plant them. And that works pretty much anywhere in the world. And planting in that milk crate, that'll be very versatile for those of you who don't have a lot of space to grow. And we're very eager to see how that will work, to see how much produce we can produce from one milk crate. Well, as we come to the close of our 26th show, the conclusion of Season 1 of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, Holly and I would like to thank you all for watching. Don't worry, we'll be back next week with more how-tos, reusable items, and tips, tricks, and techniques. But we want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for tuning in and taking time out of your busy schedule to watch our show. And we hope over the last 26 weeks that we've encouraged you to get out in the garden and throw some soil around and put a few seeds in the ground. We don't get paid for this. We do this strictly because we love to do it, and we want to show others how easy it is to grow edible items. And our payment is when we see you view the show, subscribe, like it, comment on it, whether it's constructive criticism or positive encouragement. And when we see you guys share it with your friends and family saying, hey, this is something I think you should watch. For all of us here at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, Holly and I are saying thank you for watching, and take a child gardening and start growing some memories.
This program was funded by the following.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
Willow Spring Soap Company is a locally owned Colorado business just a stone's throw away from the Rocky Mountains. Their handmade soap is made from simple, recognizable ingredients, which lead to a more natural, earth-friendly, long-lasting, and hard bar with a wonderful creamy lather. They make soap using the cold kettle process with a specially formulated recipe of 100% vegetable oils. They use traditional methods that produce a true soap instead of the commercial synthetic alternatives that can dry out skin. Go to www.willowspringsoap.com to get a fresh and natural clean, handmade in the Rockies.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener supports the following. Hunter Task Force believes that every person has the right to adequate food obtained with dignity. They're providing food for people in need. With their 151-acre working farm and fish hatchery in Franklin, Wisconsin, volunteers are needed daily. You could plant seeds in the greenhouse, ride the transplanter, or you can make an instant $10 donation from your mobile device by texting food to 52,000. For more information on how you can help end hunger, visit hungertaskforce.org. The show never ends on our Facebook page. Keyword Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners. Like the page and continue the discussion there. You can now follow us on Twitter, see what we're up to and what we're doing at the garden. The address, the W-I Veg Gardener, G-A-R-D-E-N-R. You can email us at the WIVeggardener@gmail.com with your questions, comments, or suggestions about the show.